Welcome to the Beautiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
Coming to you on tonight's Beautiful Game, or I guess this morning or afternoon or whatever the heck you're listening to us, we're going to be discussing another Liverpool loss. Womp, womp, womp. As the great American leader at Leeds leads his team to victory. We'll also be talking about Graham Potter and Chelsea as well. But big shout out to those awesome Brighton kits. I love that blue kit with that little yellow collar and the yellow on the sleeve. They win the jersey game in that match as well.
Until they beat Arsenal, then he won't be saying that because they've beaten United and they've beat Chelsea. As soon as they beat Arsenal, like, those kits, man, screw that.
And then, of course, we're going to check in with the rest of the action in the Premier League. Before then, we pass it on over to the Sultan of Sausage, the purveyor of the pork roll, who proclaims pieces of pint poetry to your pleasure in this edition of Ron's Beer News. Before we close out the pod with a little La Liga's roundup. Yeah, that's what we need. We need.
Yes, I love it.
We need that.
We need that sound bit.
A super American
Just chop that. Because we actually did that in sync a little bit.
Yeah. The Liga's roundup. Yeehaw. Oh,
yes.
That's
love it.
Rolling. Oldham soccer balls are swollen.
Keep those European clubs rolling.
That's, dang it. How did it take 180 episodes to figure out?
180 episodes, gents.
Yeah. Coming up on 200. I guess we'd hit 200 in the World Cup.
Maybe I don't quite done the math, but you guys realize it is this month, right?
Yeah.
As we're recording on November 1st.
But what you realize, like this week that we are about to talk about that just occurred, match week, and then the one that is upcoming is we are recording on November 1st. That's it. And we go on break.
Oh, there's one more after that, or am I wrong?
I think that was it.
Oh, geez, you might be right. I didn't realize that it was that quick.
I think this coming one is it. And I'm not going to lie, the closer it gets, the more I hate it. We can talk about that later, I guess. But I don't want to stop. Like it just feels so weird to halt the Premier League for that long to do something that should be filling up our summer when we don't get to have a lot of soccer.
November 13th is the last game.
So, yeah, we have two. I think it's a midweek game, right?
Is it a midweek?
No, it's a Sunday. November 13th.
Oh, yeah,
Sunday.
I guess that would be about 2. Yeah. Okay. So 2 more weeks. That's what I thought.
Just ridiculous. I don't like it. Oh, a lot of clubs have already had their last home game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
As I saw a tweet, someone said who was at the Arsenal match. They were like, that was their last home game, the Nottingham one before the World Cup. And they were like, I saw the weirdest thing today. People were like, what they call them, season ticket holder buddies, people who just have tickets next to each other. We're all saying like, I'll see you next year. Have a happy Christmas. They're like, it's friggin' October. But people were hugging each other and said, like, have a great holiday and everything else. It's so weird. I don't like it.
So weird.
But first, before we get all to that soccer news, we got to talk about some beer.
What you got, Blake?
Just because the spooky times are over, it's still the fall. So I am going to keep things autumnated. Is that a word? And
it is now.
Go with a delicious non-Halloween themed. I mean, like, I guess anything's got a pumpkin on it, technically Halloween. But going back to Ron's backyard, and Ron, correct me, because if anybody's done it, it would have been you. Have we had a beer from Trogs yet?
Yes.
We have? I mean, we've had
it. It sounds familiar to me. Or you guys at least talked about it.
It was like one of the, whatever at the time, it was like their, this is not the name of the beer, but like the Hoppinator or.
Right. Well, Trogs, famous for the Mad Elf, I think is the most famous one outside of Pennsylvania. They are a Pennsylvania brewery, family owned and operated, family owned, independently crafted. Ron, I recommend you go to the Trogs site because I feel like when we lived in Pennsylvania, we were okay with Trogs, but we weren't like super into it. They look like they have had an overhaul for how their beer is presented. If you go to their beers and look at their logos and all sorts of stuff, like it's super classy.
Wow.
I will send you guys the link to the one that I'm having because I never thought about doing it that way. So you can see it if you want. Because I always try to share the can art with you. But I'm doing Master of Pumpkins.
Nice.
The Master of Pumpkins, the ale brewed with Pennsylvania pumpkins and spices. As they say, it takes a long time to plant, raise, pick, slice, clean, and roast. Over 3,000 pounds of local PA pumpkins, but come fall, Master of Pumpkins takes shape and suits the season just so. Subtly spiced with cinnamon, clove, ginger, and nutmeg. This is a beer that's worth the wait. ABV 7.5%. Colors a dark brown, grain, Munich, Pilsner, Special B. Hops are German Northern Brewer hops. And the yeast is Belgian ale yeast. So I'm pretty stoked.
Nice.
I should add some good flavors on this. I'm stoked.
It should be APV, average pumpkin volume.
And this is delivered directly from Ron's sister who came to visit us last week.
Oh, sweet.
So she brought up some good Pennsylvania beers. I've got another one in there somewhere. I'm saving that for the
Look
next
at those pumpkins going into the oven.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
But their website's amazing looking now, right, Ron? Like
it's really good.
Their art, everything is slick. They definitely stepped ahead to, I don't know, the times of how beer is presented now, and it kind of makes me want to try all their stuff. So, Ron, if you go back up to Pennsylvania for the holidays or anything, Ferris and I need a gift basket when you come back because I'm looking at their beers and stuff, and there's a lot of things. I think I just only really knew them as the Mad Elf, which is their famous Christmas beer. Which
did we have that on the pod? I don't know. Why does that sound so familiar to me?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have either, but I know. Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, if you go up there, we got to bring some back. Looking good. So, anyway, Trogs, TRO with an umlaut. That's how you know it's cool.
Oh, that's what that's called.
Two dots.
Umlaut. Umlaut. Trogs. Umlaut.
Or, and I'll make sure I'll get us the hop beer from.
Sorry, I don't know why I decided to break into that song.
I can't wait to isolate just that.
Oh, yeah, there it is. That's going to be on the soundboard.
So I got my pumpkin beer. Weirdly enough, my first pumpkin beer I will have had of the year.
I almost picked Ron and I up one. I might have to save it, but we have something different.
So we picked ours based on a bit of a fun little theme, and because I was a little tired of just cleaning out the fridge and having, the same kinds of beers.
Canadian, Florida, Canadian, Florida, Canadian, Florida.
So I figured we would try something way different than any of those. And I picked the New Belgium Hop Raider from the Voodoo Ranger series of New Belgium Brewing. Now, the reason I picked this one is because the can art is basically a skeleton with a fedora and looks exactly like Indiana Jones. And we are going to need the Tomb Raider to go find out what the hell happened to a Liverpool team who's losing to all the bottom teams in the league. So I figured this was an appropriate beer to have.
We named the dog Indiana.
Even Harrison Ford ain't going to be able to find that out.
The Voodoo Ranger Hop Raider is part of, like I said earlier, it's part of the Voodoo family of IPAs brewed by New Belgium Brewing. It's brewed with trend-setting hop and malt varieties and served with a side of sarcasm. The bottom line, if you're looking for an innovative IPA that are hop-forward, bold, and occasionally hazy, the Voodoo Ranger family has your back. So get ready, gentlemen. This Hop Raider IPA has 8.1 IBV.
Oh, geez. I did not see that on the can earlier.
Yep.
Jeez.
43 on the old IBUs. Uses ale yeast. The malt is pearl, caramel, and and honey. malts. And the hops are Chinook, Citra, Galaxy, Nelson, Soven, Fato, and Sabaro.
There's a lot of hops.
So, Blake, I don't know. Can you see the can art on this?
I actually saw that at the store the other day and thought about getting it. So it's hysterical that you snagged that.
Yeah. I also got the Juice Ranger because
Juice Ranger.
Juice Force. That's what
Juice
it is.
Force, damn.
So I can't wait to try that one too.
Cool, man. Shall we?
We shall. And in honor of Pennsylvania, Ron, I figured I would drink this out of the my German Stein, clay Stein again, or stones.
It's an actual Stein.
Made in Deutschland. All right.
We gotta stop letting these beers warm up.
Right. Yep. Hey, that's you know why you know what you need? If you look at my beer picks Ron puts up, you need a cool Doctor Who fridge on your desk, like I've got, to keep everything cold.
Yeah, I too got a lot of head, but a little bit better pour than you there.
It's
because we let them warm up.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know how you keeping your beers.
Well, we put them in the fridge and then we put them on here when we first come in, and then we wait and then we do all our preamble.
You got to bring in
for a bit, and by the time that happens, it's like, yes.
You got to bring it. Eat, Ron. Now you know that's the pain of someone. You got to get the bleep sheet out while you're trying to pour your beer.
And it's always Ferris.
Always.
Allegedly. Hey, listen, the one that me and Blake did, there was zero cursing.
Well, I have that bleep sheet in front of me. It's like a pride thing sitting down here, like zero.
You have to frame that bad boy.
Like, it smells like fall in here. This, I don't know.
Close your window.
Right. Oh my gosh. Can I tell you how much I miss the smell of wet leaves falling on the ground for the fall? Oh my, if I could bottle that, it's amazing.
I'm sure like Bath and Body or Yankee Candle has a candle.
Yeah, right. They got to.
Man. All right, guys.
Oh,
cheers.
This smells so good.
Cilantro.
Well, your sister rules because she brought over.
Whoa.
Well, this might be my favorite. Oh, man. Southern Tier's Pung King has always been my favorite pumpkin beer.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing. Holy crap. Nutmeg, cinnamon, bit of caramel and vanilla. This is outstanding.
Go for it.
The jury's still out on this one for me.
Yeah.
It is a crap ton of hops.
It definitely kind of starts off peeling your teeth.
Yeah. Like, bite you. It ends very, semi-smoothish.
Semi.
Right?
I thought that the malt was, especially with the honey and the pale, I thought that was going to sweeten it out at the end.
No.
Way more than it actually does.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I got no complaints over here. This is delicious.
But it could also be that we haven't had an IPA like this in a while.
Yeah, but
I've laid off IPAs for a bit, so I'm kind of due to swing back into them. I had to send you guys.
How I feel about this.
I sent you guys a picture of the beer, but then I also had to send you the top picture is a Northern Red Oak that I planted in my backyard. For anyone who's interested, I have gone bananas. I think I mentioned this in the previous pod. I'm now up to my 12th tree planted since moving in. Nice. And today, the Northern Red Oak, she's small, but look at that red color. I was like, oh man, it's going to be pumpkin beer tonight. That's actually where the inspiration for mine came from.
Blake is a little too proud to mention this on his own, but he has another podcast, Blake the Arborist podcast, where he talks about all things trees with...
You want to see that Arbor Day special. Or listen to that Arbor Day special.
The full title is Blake the Arborist, come for the trees, leaf with a good feeling.
Dad joke start early, ladies and gentlemen.
We're only 15 minutes on the nut in, and he breaks that out.
You're welcome. Oh my goodness. So delicious. I can't get over how good this beer is. Ron, you need to get your sister on sending you some. This is amazing.
Yeah. I'm going up there for Thanksgiving, so I'll snag a bunch.
Well, speaking of pumpkin, which makes me think of pumpkin chunkin back in the Eastern Carolina days. You know what pumpkin chunkin fairs?
Hell no, man.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. You know pumpkin chunkin, right, Ron?
Of course I do.
So like one of two things happen. People would like build trebuchets. Like sometimes
define trebuchet. Does it have one of those omen things on top?
No, it's not the it's not a catapult. It's the one that like Ron could probably explain this better, but it's got a counterweight. Then it spins over and flings.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Oh, you get to throw. You get a hefty thing of orange and throw that thing around.
Under country science teachers in school, under the auspice of we're teaching science, but really I think it was like, let's be redneck and have some fun. You learned how a trebuchet would work, and you built a trebuchet first to throw an egg, then to throw a pumpkin. It was pumpkin chunkin. And then if you got real clever, some dad would want to like basically do a potato gun for a pumpkin with propane and stuff and fire those things out. Pumpkin chunkin, baby. Yeah. So speaking of pumpkin chunkin, Liverpool got one chunk right to the noggin. Liverpool loses yet again to another relegation zone. Ferris, let's be fair. Last in the league club.
The bottom two, I think, of Leeds. I think Leeds were 19th at the time.
Oh, you're right. They were 19th. They were 19th.
Well, it was Nottingham last week.
That's
right.
Who
were in 20th, and I believe it was Leeds in 19th this week.
So losing to Nottingham, then now to Leeds. As American Leeds beats the Red. So wait a minute. I actually know what you meant. The American-led Leeds, that's a hard sentence to read, beats the Reds at Anfield by a scoreline of 2-1. Sharing goals in the first, it's Rodrigo for Leeds, who opened up the scoring in front of the Cop in faithful in the 4th minute. And let's be honest, I kind of felt like at that point, this was going to be over. It was on a poor back pass from Joe Gomez to Allison. However, it only took the Liverpool Egyptian star a solid 10 minutes before his left boot slots home a far post volley from Andy Robertson. Then Anfield was left stunned, silent, bereft of the ability to speak, as late in the match as Leeds winger, give it to me, Ferris.
I think it's Crescencio Somerville.
Crescencio
Somerville.
The Leeds winger, Mr. Somerville, calmly poked a ball across Allison, which hit the net of his far post to send the away supporters in the area into exuberation by way of disbelief hysteria. I was just rewatching part of the replay for this.
Ron and I had happened to turn it on, actually. We were together and turned it on like shortly after that. And we watched the replay of that goal by Mr. Somerville. As we don't know the first name. But it was such an odd goal. Not in the fact that they scored, but in how it played out, and that I don't think Allison, the defense, thought he was going to take a stab at goal there. And that's literally what he did. He essentially stabbed the ball in the back of the net from kind of an awkward play that, like, Bamford got the assist, but Bamford didn't know anything about the assist. Like it wasn't like a planned play where the ball went in and he headed it back and then it was kind of like slotted home from there. Kind of fumbled around for a bit, and Somerville kind of got it in his feet, got his feet right, and then went, I'm just going to have a poke at it. And literally toe poked the ball across Allison into the back of his far post.
Yeah, it was so oddly timed. It's one of those places where you never would have thought in the buildup of him having the ball, the shot was actually coming.
It's one of those that, like, when you're watching a club that you're getting so frustrated because your club won't go for it, and you're like, just get around the goal and just do something, anything, see what happens. And that's what it felt like. He's just like, bleh, and just went for it.
Yeah, hell, that's why every U9 coach out there is like, just, shoot the ball. See what happens, because odd things happen when you shoot the ball on net.
Yep.
Or just in general, ball can bounce around. It can do weird things. You hit it just right. It can spin. It can backspin. It can do all these things. And this was just an odd, but a very kind of well-taken goal, just in the fact that it was poked between two defenders for the game winner in the 89th at Anfield.
Breaking their unbeaten streak at Anfield.
Virgil van Dijk has not lost since he lost at home in the league since he's played. It's like 70-some matches at home that he has not lost.
Until now.
And the Americans broke it, essentially.
Have you guys caught, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of what it's called, but it's the show on Peacock. But I mean, it's obviously like a Sky Sport thing, I think, but it's Ian Wright's on it. That you can watch on some of the replays or like
no, I know it's on Peacock, but yeah, no, I haven't. They're working a lot more with Sky and trying to integrate him more into everything. But no, I have not seen that particular segment.
I was watching the one prior to doing this about the Liverpool match, and one of the pundits threw out something interesting that how quick Van Dijk came back from his, was it ACL or MCL surgery?
Yeah, but that was last year, though, right?
No. I know that, but they were talking about the calendar of like when it happened and how quickly he got back into playing was a little abnormal. Now, what they were basically saying was like, it's like you've got all this extreme talent, him included, and everyone is like just 5% like off and tired, but together. Like if Van Dijk is, a little off, it's one thing, but it's like the whole club has just, any single person. I mean, Salah's still trying to make it happen, but there's just this sort of malaise is too strong because at times they can still look dangerous, or it's still Liverpool, so anything can happen, but they just seem so put out. The other thing they brought up that I thought was interesting was from a psychological point of view, that they felt like a lot of this seems mental. And what's the strain of last year's run to the title race where we all sat there and said, well, it was fun because we actually got to enjoy a title race to the very end as opposed to it being decided weeks earlier. But, for them, they get all the way there and it doesn't quite work. And now they got to put it all back together. And their club too hasn't really changed much, what Nunez is their big.
And to that point, it shows you how much mindset and morale can really change the tides, right? Everybody bashed, United most recently. It's happened with a lot of clubs, but just to pinpoint them, the most recent times of you're losing to Brentford, you're losing to Brighton. That's not as bad as losing to, if you're talking positions in the table, to losing to Nottingham and Leeds back to back in single weeks, one of which being at home, not on the road. But it is a tough league, and you have to be 100% at all times, or that 5% will kill you from one way or the other. Just a very poor back pass in this, a simple mistake that shouldn't happen led to a wide open goal, uncharacteristic from them. And the other point, the best defense sometimes is offense. And that Sadio Mane loss.
Mel, the cook on Alice.
No one will get this reference at all because it's a reference within a reference.
Yep.
It's the boot to the head sketch. Was that UHF? No, what was that?
Royal Canadian Air Farce.
Royal Canadian Air Farce. There you go. Sorry, Ferris.
Best offense?
Yeah, the best defense, the good offense. You know who said that?
Actually, that's a reference in a reference for a reference.
Yeah.
Because what's the Thanksgiving song? Alice's Restaurant.
Alice's Restaurant, yeah.
That came out of Alice's Restaurant, then went to Boot to the Head. So that's a reference in a reference about a reference.
I feel like we're in,
awesome.
Is it Deadpool 2? When Deadpool breaks the fourth wall within a flashback. It's like, wait, we're now at 16. How have we done this? So for the few of you who get that reference, you're welcome. My name is Rick Segnarg.
I don't get that reference, so
down roll. Look it up.
but to that point, Sadio Mane, what a loss! This is a match where a goal from him late in that match makes this game 2-1 going in the other way, not 2-1 for Leeds, right? The amount of chances that Liverpool were having down there on the top end, that's where Mane scores. That's when he might do fuck all for the entire game. But then in that last handful of possession that you need a goal, he will net one in the back of the net. And you win 2-1, and we're talking about an entirely different line here for Liverpool. And that changes the mentality. That changes the morale. That changes the mindset. It's, you know, and gents, before we kind of wrap this up, do you think this loss solidifies them to not make the top 4 this year?
I don't know. I don't know if it's this loss. Because despite how low Leeds has been struggling, I feel like there's more fire and talent in Leeds that, you know, they could survive the season. So it's not like, you know what, if it was reversed and they lost to Leeds last week and today was Nottingham, I think I'd be right on with you. Does that make sense? I give Leeds more credit than I give Nottingham by far.
Well, they needed to win. They needed to win for Marsh. Yeah. This was possibly, you know, be kind of harsh to sack them after, you know, playing Liverpool. But these aren't points that they circled on the initial calendar going, we're going to win this at Liverpool.
Yeah. Hey, there's your final thought. Instead of just talking about Liverpool not doing well, those boys at Leeds came together for their gaffer and pulled this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was super impressive. And, you know, I always hate one of these, like, the conversation is all about the team that should have won more than it is about the team that actually put the work in to win.
Yeah, I think it's too early to count Liverpool out of the top. Did you say top 4?
Top 4, yeah.
I think it's a little too early because you still have Liverpool currently in 9th on 16 points. Right above them is Brighton on 18, and then Fulham in 7th place on 19 points. I think there's a lot of room for Liverpool to come back from this. And it's an early season. We're still early in the season with only 12 matches played. And there's a weird World Cup break that could really screw up some teams above them.
Well, and that would be my point as to why I think that they could still get in the top 4, because they're a team that really wants that break right about now, that kind of like reset button on the season.
But also, they're dealing with some injuries that the World Cup could save them. That break could save them.
Exactly, yeah. Like they actually want that break opposed to rolling in with, you know, where it could hurt other teams and rolling in with a bit of confidence and wanting to play, you know, that kind of are itching probably to get to that World Cup spot, to get healthier, to get a little bit more organized, to try to figure out in the last 15 plus games of the season how they're going to kind of right this ship. So I agree. As much as I don't want to agree with this statement, I do think that it's too early to count them out of the top 4 quite yet.
Yeah, and
I think this puts them out of the title race, but I don't think it puts them out of the top 4.
I think the thing that will benefit the most is having a break and going to play on other teams, right? It kind of a hard reset button so that when you get back, you can kind of come at it with a fresh perspective and, you know, kind of a reset.
Mm-hmm. I think people are going to say they would rather have played Liverpool the first half of the season than the second half. That's the last thing I'll say about that. When the chips are all down. Boom. Before I move to number 2, I would like to insert a 1.5 comment related to the Premier League, as well as American football. NFL, jealous much is my tagline. As today, I think you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. It's deadline day in the NFL. I have never seen the NFL talk about deadline day for trades and put out articles on East and all sorts of stuff like it was the Premier League before. I've never seen the amount of news about it pushed before. And I just found it very funny. And it felt like they thought somebody was like, well, look at what the Premier League gets like 2 times a year. Everybody gets to freak out before the season even starts or in the middle of the season again. And it just, if you read the language, I've never heard it called that before in the NFL.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even realize. I've been following
the trade deadline is what it's called. But
that's not what they call it.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been following the NFL since I was, you know, quite quite a little one. And I don't ever really remember having to pay attention to that kind of thing.
Most people couldn't even tell you what time of year or the date that it happens every year.
Yeah, trade deadline days meant nothing. Although I will say there were several big ones that were big news. But I just thought it was hysterical because it totally looked like they were just like they wanted in on some of that sweet deadline day hashtagging is what they wanted. As I sip this delicious pumpkin beer, speaking of pumpkin, Graham Potter dropped one. As Potter takes his trip back down to Brighton, and it didn't go Chelsea's way as his new side gets thumped by his old side as the Seagulls win 4-1 in Graham Potter and the curse of the jilted gull. Despite 2 of the goal line headers by Thiago Silva, Brighton and Hove didn't waste despite 2 off of the goal line headers by Thiago Silva, Brighton and Hove did not waste any time welcoming their old boss back to the Amex as Leandro Trossard slotted their first of the day away in the 5th minute. Then, while the score sheet might read 2 own goals by Chelsea and no Gary Cahill, which is crazy.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. You stole it.
one in the 14th minute of play and the other in the 42nd make no doubt about it that Brighton were all over Graham Potter's Chelsea as the home side went into the half with a 3-0 lead. Chelsea come out much better in the second and even get a goal by Havertz in the 48th, but it was ultimately not enough as Pascal Gross landed the cherry on the top for Brighton as Potter's new club spelled backfires in the face of his Chelsea squad. We'll never get tired of Potter references with these guys. Long's Graham Potter's over there.
And the weird thing is, Graham Potter and Chelsea have not lost in the league up until this point, and Brighton have not won in the league under the interim in the league up to this point. Flip that on its head for this game.
Yeah.
They were ready to roll. And again, in those sexy kits. I love the Brighton kit. Love it.
You think they weren't a little bit like, screw you, pal, for
of course
leaving us and
they exacted
10
revenge.
games into the season after we were having one of the best starts in club history. Take a 4-1 thumping on your Potter noggin.
Well, and because of the start they did have, this gives them 18 points, and they're in 8th place. Only 3 points out of 6th place for a European slot. So, big win, whoever they played, as far as that's concerned. Because, we had conversations earlier on the season. Is Brighton going to try to get into Europa or the Europa Super Champions Participation League? What is that other one called?
Conference League?
Europa
Conference League.
Europa Conference League.
Yeah. The Participation Trophy League. This one could be a mark on there for them trying to make that happen. They definitely felt like they came out, now I don't say with a chip on their shoulder, but like something to prove,
Ron, what would you say the number one missing part to Chelsea? Although they've had a good run under Potter, what's that number one missing position in the squad that they just so desperately miss?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think the midfield is where we miss the most. And I think that is also leading to kind of a lack of identity, right? Something that's kind of catching up to Chelsea, in my opinion, at this moment is this lack of identity, as well as the Potter fluidity in his tactics, right? He wants a team that is able to, while you do get a lineup and a formation in the beginning, an hour before the match, good luck deciphering it, because maybe that's not exactly how it's going to play, right? I mean, look at where Raheem Sterling ended up starting.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this fluidity of play. It's almost like Potter has this like Zen style of tactics, right? Where it's very play where it feels right instead of play a position, right? And so when he took attackers and put them as wingbacks, I think there's just a lot of confusion, and it's almost hearkening back to the end of the Tuchel reign, where there was a lot of confusion as to who's playing where and what your assignments were. And so I think that's in some ways catching up to Chelsea, along with a host of injuries.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't help. But to play a little bit of devil's advocate too, well, I don't know if it's the devil's advocate as much as it is. This is part of the problem from bringing in a coach mid-season, and not even mid-season, like real early in the season, where you're trying to figure out your own squad, let alone stepping into a new squad with players that you didn't bring in, that you only knew Cucurella playing at your last club. Now you have to try to figure it out. And yeah, to your point, we've already seen Graham Potter chop and change things up, right? He did that last match in the United match by pulling off a wingback and replacing him with a midfielder because things weren't working. And he did that in this one. He even changed keepers at half. I don't think Kepa was hurt at all.
No, I think there's just, look, at the end of the day, we are still in a figure yourself out and rebuild kind of season. I think there's a lot of leftover from Tuchel, and so Potter's just dealing with whatever he's got. And the interesting thing is to see, like you said, he pulled off Kepa because Kepa wasn't having that great a game. And he also removes, it's interesting how fast he removes Cucurella. I think he did it in the first half, the match before this one. Mm-hmm. And then this one,
was against United,
took him off at the half. So there's still a lot in flux. There's no identity currently. And I think we're all just kind of, I don't even know the word for it, but I think the general malaise is that we don't really understand how we're attacking. So we don't really understand where the midfield needs to be and how the balls need to be delivered. And we're still trying to figure out how our defense is working without the likes of Koulibaly, Cucurella being subbed off early.
Koulibaly played in this one. Am I mistaken?
No, he's still on injury.
Yeah, he's still out.
Okay, yeah, that's a big.
So yeah, I think there's going to be a bit more, dark times ahead. I said on the last pod, and I still stand by that. I'm happy that he is so fast to, try and enact some change to learn, because that's the only way Chelsea's going to get better is to, mix and match and figure out what things work and what doesn't. But I think we're going to have some, harder times coming. We have Champions League tomorrow against Zagreb, if I'm not mistaken. So this will be an interesting lineup that he puts out tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the 2nd. So I don't know. I think there's a lot going on. Thankfully, in the front office, there's been a lot of hires. Todd Bowley has hired sporting directors and a bunch of other positions. So finally, the front office is starting to pick up. So I think that will help lead us to an identity, help Potter with resources to kind of, set him on a track, and then therefore helping the players and supporting them. But I think it's going to be tough in the next couple of weeks up to the World Cup and then after the World Cup, because we're still going to have plenty of injuries. So
yeah, to run through the injury list right now, probably 4 of these names probably start. If at least 3, maybe 4. Wesley Fofana, a big name center back that signed near deadline day. Reece James, knock out a few weeks. He's still on the cusp of maybe making the World Cup squad or not for England. N'Golo Kante, out until mid-February, so he will miss the World Cup, and kind of France have confirmed that, and as we talked about on the last pod.
Huge.
And then Koulibaly.
Yeah. And to be honest, N'Golo Kante's future with the club is a gigantic question mark. So, I mean, he'll probably play if he can slot in, he'll probably play some matches up until the summer transfer. But then, to be honest, I don't expect him to stay at Stamford Bridge after the summer transfer window. He's been with us for a long time, and I think if Chelsea are going to sell him, now's the time. So it's going to be weird just being a Chelsea fan moving forward. We're going to have good times, and we're going to have some hard times.
Well said. Amen to that.
Jerk.
Hey, I gotta talk a little crap. We're against each other next week.
We are.
No kidding. I don't think I knew that.
7:30 match on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a good odd time. It's at 12:30 in the UK or something like. So yeah. It's a weird time. I should know that. But yes, that is correct. It's on like Donkey Kong and a pot of neck bone in North London. You're welcome. Moving on to the rest of the Premier League. KDB, Kevin De Bruyne, stunning free kick just after half is enough for a Hollandless Man City to go all 3 points as they beat Leicester 1-0. Well, gentlemen, does this sum up and is the season over? Because it's 2 games now Holland hasn't scored and he's past his prime and Man City is now on the downfall. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, they still won. I mean, it's just them kind of adapting out of that, right? I think we asked the question a few pods ago: was you take Holland out of there, does it change the team? And the answer is yes, right? You're used to playing with a big target man up front that you can play pretty much any ball into because 1, he's going to make the run. He's already making the run probably before you even play the ball. And 2, he's just going to bully anybody around him to get it and then with precision fire that ball home. So it has to be played a little bit different here. Without him, you have no number 9. You're playing a false 9. You're playing a Grealish up front. You're playing Foden, Mahrez, hell, possibly even having De Bruyne in this as that false 9. Still quality throughout, but you do have to adapt a bit.
Sorry, go ahead.
And last thing I was going to add to that is Pep is so good about adapting to the teams and the players that he has.
This won't make Leicester City feel any better because they're still sitting in the 18th place with 11 points. They've had a couple of wins and a draw recently, but they actually played Man City well. Like they kind of went out there with a plan to try and contain them. And, Man City has racked up some goals this year. Leicester has not been good. 1-0 is not terrible. It just feels bad. You know what I mean? Like they didn't play bad.
Considering, I think you're right, considering the amount of possession that Man City had, which was 65% of the possession.
Mm-hmm.
Leicester City were able to hold them off enough and pressure them and harry them enough that shots got dragged wide, high, off the post.
What was weird in this match is Leicester didn't go at it like, oh, they don't have Holland, so let's maybe take a run at them. Let's take a run at them like Leeds did with Liverpool. Bit different circumstances. Leeds wall and their manager backed on the wall, and Leicester kind of seemed to climb out of that. And, various things, a lot harder said than done. But Leicester mainly just kind of almost conceded before the match even started because they really didn't go at Man City with any sort of real threat.
I don't think it was a concede so much. It was kind of a Jose Mourinho-esque style, pack it in and try and get it on the counter. They just didn't have very much on the counter.
When has Leicester done that in the past few seasons?
That's notwithstanding.
That's not really how they've gone about it, though. They have some speedy players, but I just don't think that Leicester went into with an intent to try to steal 3 points here.
No, they didn't. I don't think they did.
Right, but I think what I'm saying is they should have had that intent. Because
I think they'd had that intent, they'd have lost 3-0.
I think it doesn't matter how you play Man City. they're going to grind you and find a way to win. I mean, Grealish, Gundogan, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Alvarez, like all of those, Foden. That's 7 people on the Man City team that are easily putting the ball in the back of the net, right? Maybe Grealish not as much, but
right.
So,
but none of them have with consistency besides Haaland. They didn't against Liverpool a few weeks back.
What difference does that make? They're still putting the ball in the back of the net without Haaland. Who cares?
Well, they put it in the back of the net on a free kick and not open land this game. My point being is that it can be a game can be for the taking, and I don't think Leicester tried to take this game.
No, they didn't.
I don't think Leicester's a team that can take that.
Yeah.
I think this is survival. They feel a way. They feel there's a way to go. Let's nick some draws, win a couple of things.
But they didn't. They lost.
Yeah, but
so if you lose 3-0 in this game or 1-0 in this game, why not go after them a bit? They've lost 1 in their past 3, and they don't have a Haaland. Why not go after them a bit and see if you can get a goal or two and make this game interesting and have them fight for it? Maybe you get a draw out of that. Maybe you get a win. And I just don't think that they did that at all. Again, easier said than done, but City can be beat. And I think this was a game at Leicester, at the King Power, when they're not firing on all cylinders as they have been. And the only goal comes off of a outstanding free kick by one of the best in the world. You could have nicked something here. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I think I would have done something similar.
Yeah, because you had 2 wins, a draw, and then you lose to Man City 0-1. That is still a steady line of improvement in play. And
you pack it in, and you try and strike them on the counter,
and you still lose.
And you still lose, but you lose 1-0. You stretch your field open, and you have a go at them, and you lose 4-0.
Or you score 2 early, and now you're on a fight. Or 1 early.
It's not likely.
It's all a hypothetical, but with some of the factors in play, I'm surprised that the Barrage didn't go after this a little bit more.
Well, why I wouldn't is this next match. Tottenham score 3 unanswered and come from behind goals as it takes them to the 92nd minute to beat Bournemouth by a scoreline of 3-2. Bournemouth kept playing wide open.
That's how Bournemouth play. They always play that way.
But you got to be able to shift. And they did not, and they continued to play wide open.
They don't even have a manager right now, right? They're still on an interim.
Yeah. They couldn't close this game out. They just gave it away at the end, really.
I also thought it was a bit of trying to crawl out of a hole that Tottenham have kind of lost. Like, they beat by Man United, beat by who did they get beat by the week before that, or the game after that?
Hold for show.
They beat anyways. Their form in the league has not been that good, and to go down 2-0 at half and just screen back 3 goals and take you 92nd in it, I thought it was. Tottenham was almost backed into a corner here where they needed to get a win, and they did.
2 goals in 2 minutes in the second half ends up with the Wolves drawing Brentford 1-1. I mean, I guess that's a point the Wolves need.
Yeah.
And what's his name getting a red card in this, right?
Diego Costa.
His first red card.
In the Premier League.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
2 games in? The first of 200 that should have been called. But we're not,
not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Let's just be very clear with that. Next one, the lone Edouard goal 7 minutes before half are enough for Crystal Palace to beat Southampton 1-0. By the way, Ron, speaking of Chelsea earlier, really looking like they're going to snag Zaha possibly in January.
Yeah.
Is that by you?
It'll be, yeah, I think more than Aubameyang, yeah.
It'll be somebody that plays out on the left, so you have Sterling out to the right, him off to the left, and Aubameyang down the center. It's not a bad front 3.
No.
He excites me more than Aubameyang did.
And Palace needed this win here, big time.
Agreed.
Yes, they did. Newcastle continued to fly high as a flurry of goals early in the second half secured a 4-0 win for them over Aston Villa. I think Villa's just lucky there are teams that are worse at this point.
Yeah. But Unai Emery should start here soon. So
Oh, this is true.
This week.
As soon as his paperwork and stuff.
Is it this coming week? Or
I think so. Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
Thanks to Brexit, he couldn't just come in and start working.
True.
So there you go. Our next match, Fulham fired 24 shots toward the Everton goal, but it's not enough as the sides play out to a scoreless 0-0 draw. Fulham and Everton, are they playing in some phantom league that I don't know about that's separate from the
No, it's Everton's player of the year. Jordan Pickford will definitely be England's number one. And why would you go anywhere else? Because of just the games that he's kept them in this year.
He is literally the only. Everton's in 12th with 14 points. Now, mind you, bottom of the table is 9 points.
And they were down there not too long ago.
They would absolutely be relegated without him.
Yeah.
If they survive this year, which they probably will, it is literally just because of him.
Yeah.
Everton, get your stuff together. Arsenal welcomed 20th place Nottingham back to reality after they beat Liverpool last week, as Arsenal hammered their Forest 4-0 at the Emirates to stay first in the table. 5-0. I looked at the other one above me.
You shorted your team.
5-0 at the Emirates, stay first in the table. I would have called this headline "Reese Lightning Strikes Twice."
That's why I write the content.
Yeah, Reese Nelson. Everybody was like, I thought, I wonder, what is this dude doing here? They didn't put him back on.
Why did he come in?
Is he going to do anything? Is he going to play? And then he comes in and scores 2 goals and gets an assist. Saka took a kick to the leg, and then he got pulled out.
So he get a card
he really gets hurt. So okay, I'm starting to see that your opinions on the flopping.
He's not seriously hurt. I'm not. Oh, come on.
Okay,
God, he's a Nancy though.
I see what's happening here. Yeah. So don't fall down. Okay, when you do hit, unless you really get hit. But if you really get hit, it's still not right.
How long is he out for? Do you know?
No, I don't think it'll be out long.
48 hours. Yeah. Oh wow, big hit. Anyways, I'll read this last one. Thank you. And Marcus Rashford scores his 100th for Manchester United. A feat that Saka will probably never get to for Arsenal, as his lone goal and some late heroics from David De Gea, who was not named in Spain's 55-man provisional squad, by the way, are enough to earn Ten Hag's men a 1-0 win at Old Trafford against West Ham.
You know, how many assists does Rashford have? I feel like as an overall player, Saka will be just fine in his stats when it's said that compared to Marcus Rashford. Just leave that there.
Sure.
Now we go over to the Prince of the Pork Roll. Since I'm sticking with Pennsylvania, my Pennsylvania beer, as he pontificates and proliferates on some pint poetry for our beer news of the week.
Damn, I was about to give you like a background beat to that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't bring Scrapple into it.
Just wait.
It's not the holidays yet.
Yeah.
So this is the beer news from last week before we had to Audible and do something different.
Oh yeah.
Hey, by the way, Ron, kudos whipping out the ghost stories last week for the
good stuff.
So good.
So in the world of beer, there's a lot of things going on as usual, but I think the biggest thing to report and for consumers to check out is the coming storm of PepsiCo's Blue Cloud, raising existential legal questions of who can be a beer distributor.
Oh, yes. I just saw a little bit of this, but I don't know the deets, so I'm excited to hear about this.
So if you know anything about the beer industry, there's basically a triangle or a 3-tier system, right? It's the manufacturer, the distributor, and then the end user, the drinker, right? And there are very specific laws on how this all has to work, and it's a very territorial kind of business. And lawsuits have been filed for people trying to get into other people's territory. There's been civil unrest about it. There has been murder investigations about it. I mean, it goes deep.
Well, and PepsiCo, they just started selling their first alcoholic beverage, right? Isn't that Mountain Dew thing their first?
Yeah, so that's where I'm headed now. Soft drink companies have been slowly chipping away at alcohol makers' essentially grip on the beer aisle at your grocery store, your beer distributor, or whatever, because they're teaming up with breweries to produce things like the Topo Chico hard seltzer, the hard Mountain Dew, Arnold Palmer spiked hard teas, all that kind of stuff, right? So now a company that normally focuses on non-alcoholic products has basically the greatest potential to upend the brewery wholesaler relationships and kind of really make a dent at principles that prop up that 3-tier system that I was just talking about. Because for, I guess, almost 2 years, PepsiCo has been quietly playing chess logistically and laying the groundwork for this Blue Cloud distribution. It's basically their new alcohol distribution division, and it's launched this year, February of 2022, the Hard Mountain Dew, right? I know.
God almighty. Mountain Dew is just rough in general.
Yeah.
You make a hard Mountain Dew. Oh.
What?
We just got our new bet drink if we can't get any more butternut beer.
Oh, there you go. Help us.
It's going to be, this is it, gentlemen. If a bet comes up, it is going to be, and I hate how this phrase feels in my mouth, the hard Mountain Dew.
Well, we still have one Snapperhead and Cookie Puss. FYI.
Ooh.
But so Blue Cloud is the Blue Cloud portfolio currently only includes 2 brands. But that's really not where the focus should be. The focus should be that no current beer distributor has national rights, nor do they have the infrastructure to build that national rights. There's some that have as many as 10 or 12 U.S. states, and those are some of the largest beer distributors. But here's the thing. PepsiCo is a national soft drink provider. They have trucks in every city, in every state of the lower 48, Hawaii, and Alaska. So now this Blue Cloud distribution company can leverage that infrastructure legally in order to take essentially new clients' beer to market and bypass the normal mafia-esque style beer distribution, right? So this is a game changer, and beer distributors are freaking out. The National Beer Wholesalers Association's annual convention earlier in October, this was the biggest topic, spanning 2.5 days, about how to derail this, Blue Cloud, as it were, legally or from a legal standpoint or from a logistics standpoint. So lawsuits are being filed so far. Pepsi is not, the Blue Cloud has not, done anything to raise the ire of regulators. But wholesalers are concerned that PepsiCo is essentially using slotting fees. Slotting fees are essentially an illegal way for a beer distributor to pay a retailer to stock their merchandise in a more advantageous place in the beer distributor, the grocery store, what have you. Now, no misdoings have been found, but this is really going to turn the beer distribution world upside down, because Pepsi's going to, one, play by the rules, And two, they're going to bring all this crazy beer that has not been able to hit the national market because of distribution issues. They're going to be able to bring it to market, and they're going to bring it to bear. PepsiCo has way more money than any of these beer distributors. So it's going to, once this machine actually gets rolling, you're going to start to see a lot more beer from different places as PepsiCo lures new breweries that want to have some sort of, larger footprint in the more global market, or I shouldn't say global, the more U.S. market. Their beers are going to start showing up in grocery stores and all kinds of other places that you not normally would have seen them. And that is going to end up cutting into the beer distributors, because those beer distributors are going to start losing clients because Pepsi is going to be able to get them more places and for better money.
This is all hear this now, and we'll bring this back up in 3 years, something like that, when like the fruits of this are really starting to roll out.
Doesn't it seem like Todd Bowley would own Pepsi?
Yeah,
the story.
That's right. Cloud. Yeah, totally does.
Let's bring the All-Star game to England. Let's do this with beer.
Let's do this with beer.
I got money.
Yeah,
that's our tinfoil transfer rumor today. So
go check out, look it up, PepsiCo's Blue Cloud. Do some looking around on the internet and start doing some homework. And if you're a stock person, this might be a good time to get on to PepsiCo stock, because everybody likes beer.
Very true. Hey, we are called the Beautiful Game.
Sesame Street song. Everybody likes beer.
So there you go. There's the beer news for our 180th episode.
I mean, that would have been a good one for a Halloween episode, because it is. What's scarier is hard Mountain Dew, and I looked it up, and it's selling incredibly well. This country is collapsing around us. Hard Mountain Dew is selling very well. Shall we move over to La Liga Roundup? Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. La Liga's Roundup. That's right. I gotta get that. We gotta get that.
Holy shnikes! The World Cup starts this month. But will Union Berlin in Germany go into it being top of the Bundesliga table? That is the question.
Ugh.
They currently have a 1-point lead over powerhouse Bayern Munich. Union needed a 90-minute goal in the 90th. I'm sorry, needed all 90 minutes, as I completely wrote that completely wrong. We're not off to a good start here with the Liga's Roundup. Union Berlin needed all 90 as a goal in the 90th minute by Dutch center back Danilo Dekai was just enough to edge past Borussia Mönchengladbach 2-1. Meanwhile, second in the table, Bayern had no issues in their 6-2 win over Mainz as the German Giants scored early throughout and at the end to remind the league that they are still the German Giants. Freiburg continued to sit in third after this weekend with their 2-0 win over Schalke, and Borussia Dortmund moved up into fourth with their win over Eintracht Frankfurt, as they kind of swapped places there, and Frankfurt is in fifth. Holy shnikes! The World Cup starts this month. But who would have thought that over in Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona would be 1 and 2 in the table?
If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now.
Although Real Madrid did draw 1-1 on Sunday against Girona, they still sit 1 point ahead on 32 points over their rivals. Lewandowski's goal in the 90th over in Barcelona was enough for Barcelona to close the gap as they beat Valencia 1-0. And a little further down the table, Real Betis won 2-0 over Real Sociedad, which draws them even on points with third place Atletico Madrid, who lost, actually, not only lost, they lost 3-2 on Saturday to relegation zone in 19th place Cadiz. I think that's how you say that.
Cadiz.
Cadiz these nuts.
I was just about
I knew you had to be thinking that.
Yeah, that was good. Perfect. Great minds.
8 points behind the two Spanish giants. It's unlikely that Atletico Madrid will catch up before the World Cup break. God, we're children. Holy shnikes. The World Cup starts this month. But first, this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Big Fox, first in the West, LAFC will take on first in the East, Philadelphia Union, for the MLS Cup at the Bank of California Stadium in LA. Remember, top seed going through to the finals. That's where they play the final. Still how
oh my
it is in
gosh.
MLS.
We should totally be calling this the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air final. LAFC
To Philly.
To Philly. Yeah, good call.
Born and raised. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is the Fresh Prince final.
You come up with a song next week for it as we'll announce who won the Fresh Prince Derby match. Going back a bit on how they got there, LAFC never left it in doubt as on Sunday, which was the earlier game, oddly enough, played out on the West Coast. They confidently dispatched a surging, all right, Austin FC squad by a score of 3-0. With goals from Marengo in the first half and an own goal by Arudi in the second, and the finishing touch by Apuku in the 81st. That ball spun really weird. I don't know if you guys saw that goal. It like backspinned right over the center, but it was odd. But nicely slotted home. In the 81st, the fairly new LA team will not only host the MLS Cup final, but also play in their first MLS Cup final. Later on that Sunday, how Philly got there was through a flurry of goals in the second half, as they just, within the span of about 15 minutes, just piled it on to complete a comeback as they beat the current champs NYCFC by a scoreline of 3-1. This was a fun game to watch. I don't know if you guys watched this.
Yep.
Really, really fun game. Goals from Carranza, Gazdag, and Burke sent the Philly crowd into jubilation as they earned redemption from last year's playoffs, where it was, you remember, NYCFC that knocked them out last year.
Yep.
So very, very sweet redemption here. So you had, again, first in the East all season and tied on points, actually, with LAFC. LAFC only had more wins, and that's how, it's not through goal difference in the MLS that does the Supporter Shield. It's through wins. So both tied on points. We have the first place in the West, first place in the East playing each other. First time since, I think, like 2011.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yep. And that will be this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Big Fox. So stay tuned to that.
Is that a good time slot for it?
It's better than playing on Sunday and competing with the ML or with the NFL.
I mean, why don't you just put it on prime time?
I mean, you. I don't know. You could probably do like a Friday night prime time. Would probably be my choice if you were going to do it. There's not a whole lot going on Friday night.
I feel like Saturday in the middle afternoon is buried by college.
Yeah, but you also you can have what they might be doing here is there's a big game on Saturday, or it might be a big game on Saturday. Fox does their big noon kickoff and then roll into a noon game. So if you get people already tuned in for that, maybe people stick around from that. Might be their mindset. But again, I would put it on a Friday night in prime time and call it, you avoid competing against two of the biggest sports in the U.S., which is college football on Saturday and NFL on Sunday.
Yeah.
Holy shnikes. The World Cup starts in the summer of 2023. The Women's World Cup starts this summer, 2023. But first, congratulations to the Portland Thorns as they win the NWSL Championship with a scoreline of 2-0 over the Kansas City Current at a nearly sold-out crowd at Audi Field in D.C. A goal from no other than MVP of the league, Sophia Smith, opened the Thorns scoring in the 4th minute. And it was unfortunately an own goal. Start like kind of early in the second half in the 56th. That was enough for the Portland Thorns to earn their third championship in this league. Mind you guys, the Thorns played a big part in the Yates report and individuals working for the club during that time, and atrocities kind of happened to players on those teams. So despite all of that turmoil of what kind of transpired over this past year for them, how kind of ironic or serendipitous or whatever you want to call it in a way did they come out as the champs of the NWSL. Not only did they finish second in the league, but obviously first in the playoffs, and the Portland Thorns now lead the way with a record 3 championships in this young league. Mind you, this version of the league started back in 2013, and they now hold the record for the most championships in the NWSL. Excuse me.
Yeah, it was quite a good final to watch. I think it was definitely exciting to see Portland just come out swinging. The Kansas City Current looked like they were on the ropes almost the entire match.
Yeah.
They just were not prepared for the speed, the ferocity, and the sheer will Portland came out of right off the top.
It felt like the second they walked out of the tunnel.
It almost was like, they poured so much into beating Houston, to beating OL Reign before that. And I'm not saying that they were tired or necessarily play tired. They just weren't 100% on it throughout the game, which you need to be to beat a Portland team, especially with some very young talent, some very talent from back to front. You have Becky Sauerbrunn back there. You have I cannot remember that midfielder's name. I just had it. I completely lost my mind. And then Sophia Smith up front. Not to mention a legend of the game in Sinclair, who actually started in this one and hadn't started in the game before. So you just have a lot of talent, a lot of organization coming from a Portland team who has played well all year as they finished second in the league and have a really good following with their crowds throughout the U.S. just in general. That you're right. As soon as the Kansas City kind of walked out, they just, you kind of tell that it wasn't going to quite be their day to win this. Sam Coffey. Sorry, I don't know why I could not think of that midfielder's name.
It was still fun to watch. And the league MVP, God, she is fast.
She is nasty. I'm glad that she's playing for the U.S. and not some other team. I'll tell you that much. Yep. And this was on big CBS too.
On primetime.
On primetime at 8. Okay.
Yep.
MLS, take a hint.
Yeah, really.
On a Friday night too, right?
Yep.
On a Friday night. So I don't know why.
And
MLS doesn't do that.
Real quick, some interesting news. You mentioned the Yates report. The leagues are starting to really take some action. Former NWSL player Mana Shim was announced to serve as the chair of U.S. Soccer's Participant Safety Task Force. She'll be alongside of Sinead Farley. And U.S. Soccer is moving fast. They've created a number of task forces, 2 at the moment. Allegedly, there's more coming. But they've taken significant action after the release of the Yates report from the former Deputy Attorney General. So keep glued to the news. There's going to be a lot of movement on that in the next couple of weeks into the World Cup, and it's going to be real interesting to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. All for much better things. And that's your La Liga's roundup, gents.
Thank you.
Good La Liga's roundup. Was a lot going on this week. Before we take a Premier League break from everything, as I was looking at the schedule, like November 15th, the last game in November. Then you're looking at the schedule and it says match week 17, December 26. So weird. Yeah. So weird. I got to order my Panini books so I can get in with you guys.
When are we getting the pack in?
Oh, I don't know. I have to look. I ordered
Because you ordered I
ordered 2 cases.
2 cases of stickers.
I'll figure out where they are.
Yeah.
I gotta order some of those panini snacks. It's not snacks. That's what you have.
No.
At Panera's is you have paninis, but not with stickers. All right. So our beer mentions for the pod as we wrap things up. I had delicious Master of Pumpkins from Trogs out of Pennsylvania.
Ferris and I had the Hop Raider IPA, which is part of the Voodoo Rangers series of IPAs brewed by New Belgium.
Excellent.
And it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. It was just okay.
I think I'm going to kind of put my foot down. I malt with an IPA.
Well, I mean, all IPAs have malt.
Yeah, but this was like overly roasty. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I don't know. I have a little bit more. I mean, maybe I didn't phrase that right, but I have a little bit more. This one just the honey. It just didn't. The aftertaste just doesn't do it for me.
That's fair.
They can't all be wieners at Pedro's.
I don't know how that applies, but sure.
Yeah. Ferris, you have a quote from the good man himself.
I do. And fresh off the presses from this week.
Yes.
Excellent.
This is a great one. I know exactly what it is.
Earlier this week, Zlatan was quoted as saying, "Since I left France, everything is going down. There is nothing to talk about. France needs me. I don't need France." He went on to say, "Even if you have Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, it doesn't help you. You don't have God."
I mean, I don't know what else you say. We have to get an angel choir that sings every time. I saw that and I had to send you guys immediately. I was like, I bet this ends up being the one on the pod, but oh man, guy's still dropping us gold.
It's great.
I think Zlatan's listening to the pod and he wanted to give us some fresh quotes.
A little bit of content.
A little bit of content. Well, speaking of content, if you enjoy ours, ladies and gentlemen, how's that for a segue? Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, however you listen to us. Take a screen grab, drop it to us at thebrutalgame@gmail.com or just go to our website, thebrutalgame.com, and you can reach out to us through direct message. And we'll get something fun out to you, a magnet, a koozie or something. Also check us and follow us out on the Untapped and Instagrams. And the Untapped is obviously a great place because you will see all the beers that we are trying, especially when we get to go out on some of our fun trips. And I think that's it, gentlemen. I just have
real quick before your dad joke. There's a quote not by Zlatan, but was heard today on the Champions League that is making its rounds if you have not seen it. And it is a brilliant quote by the one, the only Ray Hudson. In reference to the last minute goal that Marseille gave up against Tottenham today, which I think Tottenham then went ahead of the group. And I think either knocked Marseille out or bumped them down to Europa League. Ray Hudson was quoted as saying, "Marseille stretched out like spandex on Miami Beach."
He has some amazing quotes.
Isn't he going to think of that? Isn't he going to do some World Cup commentary for? Is that no? What's Ray Hudson on?
Right now he's on CBS. He's on Sirius XM. I think he's down in Miami. He was doing the Inter Miami, like play there for a bit.
Just love that.
Sorry,
man.
I had to get that in because that's brilliant quote today.
Anytime that dude, how that gold comes out spun from him of the stuff that he says.
Where's his book?
Yeah, right.
Where's his quote?
Someday somebody will put together all the things that he said about games.
Just the stuff, like what was the one about Spock? He's out of his Vulcan mind. Like oh my God, he's so good. He's so good. He's running around with like an egg beater in his shorts or something. I mean, they come out on her. They're so good. Well, it's fall, gentlemen, so I have some questions. Well, not really questions, but just advice. Make sure that when you are enjoying all your fall festivities this year, that if you go out into a cornfield, you do not tell secrets because corn has ears.
Okay.
How do you fix a
rally here? Come on.
How do you fix a broken pumpkin there, Ferris?
I don't know.
With a pumpkin patch.
Better. You got one more for us?
Why did the pumpkin lose the boxing match?
I don't know.
He let his gourd down.
Nice.
It's a good set of 3 there. A hat trick of dad jokes from Blake. I actually like them all. Well themed.
I'm slinging back to our old school way we started. We do like a few on the fly.
I like it.
Had to shake it up. All right, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Thanks for listening, everybody. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The beautiful game. Cheers.